How you doing, beautiful besties? It's me, Waddles. So Minecraft 1.21 is the game's next big update with a lot of big things. Here are 30 things you need to know for the tricky trials. The Pillager Patrol, an unruly gang of villagers bound by no rules other than the guaranteed to always show up at the least convenient time possible. Let's go ahead and kick our list off today with these guys because actually, inside of this update, one of the best changes to these things of all time has been made. So unfortunately, because of how things work, they're probably still going to show up just as soon as you get to the top of your build. However, now, the banner head is going to be slightly less problematic than ever before because do you notice what didn't happen? The Bad Omen. When you take out a banner head, you no longer get the Bad Omen. Instead, you get the banner and a new item called the Ominous Bottle. Now, the Ominous Bottle is pretty useful, so maybe this makes patrols pretty great. With number 1 check done out of the way, I'd like to establish a little game today. Down below in the comments right now, drop one thing you think everyone needs to know for 1.21. If I see enough, maybe I'll make a part 2 and you'll make it into the video. You'd have to be living under a rock to not know, and even then you probably still would know that 1.21 adds a whole lot of cool new copper blocks to the game. However, the next time you're thinking about crafting these things, don't go to the crafting table. You see in the crafting table, it's a 1-to-1 recipe, 4 blocks, 4 grates. However, inside of the stone cutter for a lot of these new copper blocks, 1 block equals 4 grates. 1 block equals 4 chiseled copper. This is just like cut copper. Copper bulb. This is maybe Minecraft's most advanced light source in the entire game. We place it down, power it, it turns on, remove the power, and it stays on. Power it again, lights off. Redstone stuff is pretty cool, but fully unoxidized copper bulb, and oh boy, that buddy is bright. Specifically a light level of 15. And maybe we go ahead and age it a little bit, weather it, we get a light level of 12. It's getting slowly a little bit more dim. Oxidize the buddy a little bit more, and now we're looking real dim with a light level of 8. And then finally, last but not least, or maybe least amount of light. Heck, why not? While we're talking about copper things, let's go ahead and talk about one of the greatest, no pun intended, copper things of all time, the copper grate. Did you know that the copper grate is actually not a spawnable block? That'll mean maybe the next time you're trying to build a build where you don't want mob spawn, say your nether hub, consider using copper grates as the floor because a mob will never, ever spawn on it. That one's pretty cool. You know what else would be pretty cool? You tapping like on this video. Alright. Next up, I know it's not part of 1.21. It's been out for a minute now, 1.20.5, but it's like brand new, so... But it's like brand new, and I'm kind of obsessed with this still, so we're gonna talk about it, alright? So the armadillo. You find this thing in the Badlands event biome, walk up to it with your brush, you get the scoot, but what happens if I forgot my brush? Well, patience. You know how Minecraft ducks will lay an egg and it's been like that for a long time? Well, the armadillo is kind of just like it. Every once in a while, on about the same timer as a chicken that lays an egg, the armadillo will actually drop a scoop. And alright, fine. Clearly, the dog wanted to have a bit of its own moment, if you will. So let's go ahead and drop a new dog and go ahead and tame the buddy, put dog armor on the dog, and then, oh no, really fall height. The dog falls, however, the dog fell to not a single thing in the world. Take a look at that boy's tail, it's still straight up. Dog armor will consume almost all damage from almost anything in the game before your dog feels 1 single inch of pain. Alright, now Minecraft 1.21, the tricky trials update. It's all about the trial chambers, so you're probably gonna wanna, find this thing, right? So a little pro tip for you, next time you're hunting for the trial chambers, every single chamber will have a room that is considered an entrance room. Really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of the structure, however, the entrance room will almost always pop into your world right around Y0. So head under the ground, go to Y0, and start digging hallways. Alright, or alternatively, a little bit more efficient, to go and find your local village, drop a cartography table down, wait for one of these handsome lads to go ahead and take the job, not you, small child. And then armed with 2 stacks of paper, 1 compass, and 2 stacks of glass panes, it's all up to luck. So a cartographer villager armed with those supplies, you're guaranteed to be able to make it all the way to Journeyman, the level we need. However, and this is one thing even I was getting wrong for a long time up until the release of this update, not every single time you're gonna get a map, I got it this time. But if you get a map, it will always be at the Journeyman level. This map is the fastest and easiest way to locate the trial chamber structure. Now, the trial chamber structure, once you find this thing, I want you to take a close look at what's going on here. Clearly, I mean, we have a lot of light here, but in a theoretical world, if this thing was even pitch black, we would have 0 mobs spawning inside of it until I let them spawn inside of it. In the trial chambers, at least on Minecraft to Java that isn't bugged, no outside mobs, so like nothing like a creeper or anything, will ever spawn inside of this structure. Now this is actually kind of perfect because this room right here is technically called the atrium, and then leading off of the atrium, pretty commonly, we end up with a hallway with decorated pots in them. Don't sleep on them. The decorated pots, every single one of them inside of the structure, I mean, some of them not only are going to be decorated with unique shards, only spot you can get them in the entire game, but every single pot is always guaranteed to have something inside of it. Sometimes the loot inside of these pots can actually get pretty good too, so absolutely going to want to take a second and break all of them. Music disc, music disc, music disc, arrows, okay. Now, every single trial chamber structure will have trial spawners, and those trial spawners have bad mobs. There's one mob that is consistent to every one of them, the breeze. The other ones are going to be different every single time. You see, the trial spawners, when generating, pull from different categories of mobs. You have melee mobs, you've got small melee mobs, and then you've got ranged mobs. You will only have one of each mob type inside of every single structure. So this random trial chamber that I found right here with the bone block, the spawner, that's a skeleton spawner, and the skeleton is a ranged mob. That means practically I lucked out here. I'm not going to find any stray or any bug inside of the entire structure. Let's take a closer look at the trial spawner. Once I get close enough to this thing, it's going to activate and mobs are going to begin to spawn. Usually, it seems like most spawners in a non-ominous trial will spawn up to 3 mobs at a time. With a little bit of time, precision, patience, and grinding, we take all the mobs out. Then the trial actually finishes. We'll get a little bit of loot from the trial spawner that usually isn't really the best thing in the world, and then this spawner instantly goes into a cooldown. That cooldown is going to be 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I can come back and play it again for potentially a different reward. Or, on the other hand, you remember that ominous bottle we found earlier? If I go ahead and drink this thing right away and walk up to the spawner, it actually resets the cooldown immediately. The trial is going to be a whole lot more difficult now, spawning more mobs at a time, and the mobs are going to have gear, and effects are going to be dropped on you too. No, please don't do it. Please don't. Please don't. So the challenge gets a whole lot more difficult, but by upgrading our trial from a plain, by upgrading our challenge from a plain old one to an ominous one, we can bypass that 30-minute cooldown for a second challenge and a chance at loot from an entirely different loot table. One of the best things you can get from an ominous trial is probably this ominous key. Now, across the room right here, we've got what we call an ominous vault. When it comes to the good loot inside of the trial chamber, the ominous vault is really, to be honest, where it's all at. You can find some pretty cool other things in the plain old vaults, but with a little bit of luck and an ominous key and an ominous vault, we could actually get a trident in perfect condition from an ominous vault. It's pretty rare, but it's still cool that you can get one. Another thing you can do with the vault is mine it. With a pickaxe, we go ahead and mine this vault, and we're going to find that it mines really, really slow. With our hand, we're going to find that it also mines really, really slow, and you don't get anything when you mine it, so maybe just don't. All over the trial chamber, but usually more so in rooms with challenges, kind of like this one right here, you're going to find dispensers all over the place. Now, usually, these dispensers are kind of like bad things or maybe potentially annoying things, but not always. Sometimes, and it seems like this is definitely not most times, but sometimes you'll find something that is either completely random or a potion that actually isn't too bad. The trial chamber structure itself is a pretty large structure. They're also going to generate completely randomly and end up being different every single time you find them. The cool thing about the trial chamber, because it's random every time, you kind of don't really always know what to expect, and there's a whole lot involved with the trial chamber, including secret rooms with occasional loot inside of it. So definitely take your time inside of the trial chamber and look around. You never know what you're going to find. In a couple of years from now, I think that we're going to look back on the vault and say, yeah, that was one of the greatest additions of all time to Minecraft. The vault is super cool because if I use a key on the vault, then I'm going to go ahead and get loot, but the loot from the vault isn't necessarily over. I mean, it's done for me, but if I was somebody else, I could walk up to the vault, use a key, and actually still get loot from the same vault. But for the super determined, there actually is a way to make the vault more than a single use item. You see, if I was the first person to use this vault, then 20 people after me walked up to the vault and used the vault, then I walked up to the vault again, it would actually let me open the vault like it's a brand new one. This is due to the vault having a limitation on how much it can actually remember. A vault will only remember 20 people who interact with the vault, 20 different people. After that, the next person, the 21st one, will reset and go right over the first one. You know what, next up, let's talk about the crafter, because I feel bad. We've been sleeping on this buddy for so long, haven't even talked about it. It's a really beautiful looking block, and it's very functional too. Check this out. That can interact with the crafter, maybe put 2 back to back, make like a little side table or something, but more importantly, items will stay inside of the crafter, exactly how you place those items. Now, only having 9 slots total, it's not really the biggest storage option in the game, definitely not. But with the help of a couple creative build tricks, maybe filing cabinet or carpet on top to make a side table, it could be a great way to spice up your builds. But of course, probably the best use for the crafter inside of this update is farm compacting. With a crafter slapped on the bottom of an automatic farm, say a bamboo farm, I go ahead and set up a circuit, a clock or something to power this thing once in a while, and I'm going to go ahead and condense everything in this farm straight down into blocks. By falling from a simple 5 blocks or more with an unenchanted mace, you're going to deal a lot of damage. In fact, specifically, 33 damage. That's more than enough to take out most mobs in Minecraft. And speaking of damage, the breeze, this buddy, actually doesn't deal very much damage at all. If you take a look at what happened when the breeze hits me, it deals like a heart of damage, a half heart. Instead, with the breeze, the real challenge is when you're shot up into the air or shot off of something because of a wind blow. The breeze is also not immune to fire. Yeah, so keep that in mind. One thing that the breeze is immune to, though, is attacks from other mobs. As in, like, these other mobs, say a husk or something, it's never going to actually attack the breeze. And the breeze is also immune to almost every projectile in the entire game as well. In fact, a lot of these ones will just bounce right off of them. It's kind of cool. Potions. Instead of Minecraft like 1.20.2 or something, one of the updates of all time, they updated the colors and made it much more vibrant and unique. And another change that was technically added before 1.21 but might help big time in this update, potion particles are now going to actually be associated with the potion that you drank. So like, check this out. All around me I have blue. That's because of slowness. If I drink strength, which is yellow, then I'm going to have blue and yellow particles around me. Finally, let's say I drunk night vision as well. That's going to be lime green. Then give it a second and we'll see lime green particles as well. This is a great mechanic to know about if you like to do PvP with potions. The wind burst is one of the coolest things of all time. You hit something in the right way and you can go ahead and send that thing real far, including yourself. You could use the wind burst to actually jump a little bit higher. To get the best height at a wind burst jump, you need to time your jump and the burst at the right time. Jump up and use the burst at the same moment and you'll get a real tall jump. Once you perfect this method, it'll work every single time. Jumping is fun. Making other mobs jump is pretty fun too, but that's not the only use for the wind burst. Go ahead and use the wind burst and oh, well, how is that happening? Well, that's because the wind burst, if you hit it just right, it'll actually be able to activate a redstone source clean through a block. This makes for a great secret door key. The Bogged is a brand new hostile mob inside of Minecraft 1.21. They're not really good. You'll find them in the chambers, you'll find them in the swamp biomes. The Bogged is a poison skeleton. It's not very nice. But did you know that you can walk up to the Bog and shear the buddy and turn it into a kind of a mushroom farm in a way, at least for 2. Consider becoming a channel member today for some cool perks and benefits. Tap join for more info. And you know what? Speaking of potions, I almost always forget. Minecraft 1.21 has 4 brand new brewable potions. First up, we've got oozing. If a mob has the oozing effect and I take it out, well, when I take this guy out who has oozing with the slime particles, it's actually going to spawn 2 medium-sized slime. Next up, we've got wind charging. If a mob has wind charging, then it's going to have this little wind thing around it. It's pretty cool looking. And then when I take it out, a small wind burst pops up. This one is called weaving. Weaving is dangerous. So when a mob has weaving, it'll actually move through cobwebs a little bit quicker. But when you take that mob out, it'll drop cobwebs on the ground where it went away. And last but not least, for our new potions, we've got infestation. Oh, it's disgusting. With infestation, a mob has a 10% chance to spawn silverfish where it is when it takes damage. And of course, when it takes damage is not just when you take it out. And so we've done it. Last but not least today, the final thing you need to know for Minecraft 1.21. If you haven't yet, throw one more down below and tap like. I'd love to make a part 2. Subscribe for more videos just like this one too. I've got a lot of big stuff coming with 1.21. And anyways, here we are inside of a village full circle moment, the ominous bottle again. If I'm outside of the village and I drink the ominous bottle, I get the bad omen effect just like normal. As soon as I move close enough to any villager in the game, the bad omen turns into a raid omen, and I've got 30 seconds to decide. Yeah, that's right. The villagers don't know what's about to happen to them for 30 seconds. They see the particles maybe, but yeah, don't know anything. If I'm quick enough, I can drink a bucket of milk before 30 seconds and flat out cancel the raid altogether. Those are 30 things you need to know from Minecraft 1.21. Thank you all so much for watching. On the end card is going to be a video and a playlist that I think you'll love. Check them out, and it's been me, Waddles. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.